kind of reiterate the exploration, the self-exploration piece. It might not be technology that it is for you, but whatever next move you want to make, there's so many opportunities for research and reaching out to people. You would be really surprised by how many people just want to engage with you. There's a lot of fake it till you make it. I know how cliche that sounds, but you're really just like, okay, like I'm doing this, like I'm gonna put my best foot forward, even though I don't know exactly what's going on.
Hello and welcome to Career Spotlight with Vanessa Ajimoy. Today I have an amazing guest, Jana Hodgins. If this is your first time on this channel, basically what we do is that we have people from all walks of life and they come and share their career journey. So I reached out to Jana and I asked if she could come and share some insights and tips into kind of her various transitions, and she agreed. So, Jana, thank you so much for your time.
I'm so excited. Thanks for asking me.
Cool. So, we'll go straight into it. So, if you can start off by telling us what you do now and what your role involves.
Yeah, so I'm a technical producer of the cloud infrastructure engineering team at my company, which is a tech and gaming company. This means that I'm, managing the Scrum process for 5 engineers. I lead the daily stand-ups every day to eliminate any blockers and clear their way, making sure that we're working on the highest priority items. I manage the backlog in this role, which it can be split in other positions to be more of the product owner role. But since I don't have a product owner, I'm prioritizing our work and then refining that work with our engineers and making sure it's ready to go for a 2-week sprint. And then managing our partner relationships when we deliver that work and making sure that it's the right thing that we're delivering and meets the needs of our customer.
Cool. So, with kind of using the Scrum methodology, is it something that you've always kind of been accustomed to, or did you have to kind of learn about it?
Yeah, I learned about it after school, any of my like formal education stuff. It was in a role that required me to learn it. And so I had a really lovely teacher, who was a senior producer at the time, show me how to run the ceremonies, and how to build on the empathy of these ceremonies, because you really are building trust with your team and making sure that it's a safe space for them to share their ideas and reflect on, any challenges that they faced or mistakes that were made in a blameless situation, like a blameless environment, so that we can move forward together. And yeah, I did end up getting a certification in that after I learned it, primarily because it helps boost the resume when you're looking for new jobs.
Sure. Talking about school, can you kind of share a bit about your educational background and whether it's shaped any of your career choices?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So I went to Oregon State University. I'm from Oregon State in the US, and it was one of the most local schools to me. I majored in strategic communication. So in a way, I use it every day. But when I sought out this degree, I was intending more to be like marketing. The degree was made up of psychology, sociology, how to communicate with a specific audience. I did have some new media communications classes, which they should really just call tech classes. It was about, digital communication. So I definitely utilized some of the things I learned at school, like conflict management and negotiation. But I wouldn't say that I knew I would end up where I am.
Mm. Can you kind of now like talk through kind of how it all began and how you've come to doing what you do now as a product manager.
Yeah, it's been a wild journey. After I graduated, I was intending to do an internship in sort of that marketing space that I was imagining. And about a week before graduation, the internship was pulled off the table. The company had decided to go in a different direction, basically move their office, which was based in Australia, not to have an American base. So I had to really change gears quickly, and I ended up on a couple adventures that have not applied to my technical career at all. I was a raft guide for a little while. I served in the Peace Corps. But once I really got started in the career journey that I'm in now was maybe about 6 or 7 years ago. I started working at a hospital in the back end kind of administration portion of hospitals, getting their grants administered. So research kind of, that's kind of where data management came in, and certainly like my Excel spreadsheet skills. And it was a very slow paced job, and I was looking for something a little more exciting. So I started to research websites and what it would take to be on teams that are producing websites. And that's where I landed back into technically like a brand and marketing agency that was producing digital artwork, campaigns. And then had the opportunity to transition. I actually took a contract role for my next role, which is a great opportunity to break into a new industry. And this was where I learned about the Scrum process and started working with engineers directly. I guess, and then I guess that's not where the journey ends, to answer your question.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my previous role was at this last company. They're a product and brand agency. I really loved working with them. I learned so much, and I got to work with different clients. So one of the clients was a real estate homeownership app, and another one was like a fitness app. And so getting kind of working in the consulting realm gave me an opportunity to see a lot of different teams and a lot of different ways that people were working. And then a couple years ago, I applied for a job at Wizards, which is where I'm currently at now. And I thought it was going to be like accounts, e-commerce, like I was trying to get a little bit more into tech. But I kind of fell headfirst into it because on my first day, they told me I was going to be leading the continuous integration, continuous deployment project. And I had to go look up what that meant and figure out all of the requirements for different teams, and really just got a firsthand seat in learning all of that very rapidly.
Mm. So do you think then kind of being given a big opportunity, like a big kind of role so early on helped you to upskill pretty quickly?
Definitely, definitely. There's a lot of fake it till you make it. I know how cliche that sounds, but you're really just like, okay, like I'm doing this, like I'm gonna put my best foot forward, even though I don't know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
And I've come to learn, especially in technology, that everything is changing so rapidly that there are a lot of people in the position of like not knowing a specific acronym or like a new tool that they're hearing. And so once I started to see, other people asking questions and learning how to kind of frame my questions and my feedback, I started to feel a lot more comfortable with like, we're all just kind of figuring it out.
It's interesting you say that because even now I find myself having to Google what does
Yes.
this acronym mean?
Yes. And I love remote work for that reason, because yeah,
Yeah.
you can kind of like catch up on stuff without having to pull away from a conversation in person.
Yeah, can totally relate. What skills then would you say uh, would be quite handy to succeed in a role in product management?
Yeah. I think this is really a interpretive role, being able to understand how people work with each other and seeing efficiencies. Um, Specifically like in process, being able to identify, where we continue to hit a bottleneck over and over again, and how we can update update the process there. I'm in sort of a unique place because I'm a producer and still wearing the product owner hat a little bit. So as far as product management goes, I would say learning to say no and an elegant way, sort of the yes and methodology where you're kind of like, that's a great idea, and this is how we have to fit this in with capacity, or being curious, like asking more questions about what people are really experiencing. A lot of times in my role, somebody will make a recommendation for a solution, and then when we get down to the heart of, well, let's start at the problem first and understand what problems you're experiencing so that we can recommend a solution for you. Oftentimes it's very different than the solution that they asked us for originally, just based on the way the systems are built or which vendors we can leverage versus others. So having a lot of curiosity and writing it all down is very, very helpful.
Nice. So I know you mentioned about faking it until you make it. What kind of other advice would you have for those that want to transition into a more technical role, complete career change?
Yeah, definitely. I actually just wrote an article about this, so I would love to share that link with you for resources. But one
Yes,
of the
please
main
do.
things, yeah, absolutely. One of the main things that I discovered was that you got to learn how to speak to people using the terminology that they're using in the industry. So if you've never worked in tech before, producer might sound like a TV role, something. This is like what they use in the movie industry,
Yeah.
basically. And my previous titles were actually more like project management, kind of putting it in simpler, more well-known terms. But they use producer in tech so that it embodies more. If you don't have a product owner, you may be taking on roles like you encompass all of the activities that make production happen. So learning the lingo is really important. And one of the ways that you can do that is connecting with folks in the industry, and just hearing about their roles. Like obviously your podcast is a great opportunity to hear these words, understand how you can figure it out, how you can look up on in the middle of a conversation what somebody's talking about so you can kind of catch up. Because we do tend to fly through these things when we're more familiar with it, and that doesn't necessarily mean that we aren't willing to explain, or that we sort of assume unknowingly that people know these acronyms, and it's just inaccurate. And we have total compassion for that because we were all new once, and some people use acronyms that are specific to their company or used in a different way at a specific company. And so it's always worth asking those questions.
Sure, that's great advice. And kind of what key lessons learned have you learned along the way?
Yeah, I was reading a book recently that was kind of talking about balance and how it's a little bit of an illusion, but finding ways to uh feed your soul, essentially, like with the work that you do. This is another great tip if you're looking to break into tech too, is exploring all of the things that you're interested in. For me, it was websites, and it became, how do people create these? How do they design these? Like, well, oh, there's code that goes into this. What do I need to know about that? What can I do without coding? Like, some of these website generation sites that can help you do that. So, I really just pursued an interest. And so exploring everything that you're interested in is a key lesson that will help you down the line, not only know certain areas that you can apply to different areas. Like there's a lot of transferable skills in there. Um, but also just staying open and being willing to learn from other people. And that never goes away, especially in this industry. And there's a lot of industries that are like that, where it's constantly changing. You're going to always have to be updating, with the latest word tool, whatever it is. And so trying to remain open and accepting that that's part of the gig.
When I went through like kind of your LinkedIn page and was looking at the reviews, a lot of colleagues, it was quite consistent what they said about you, just that you're very positive and that you have a positive management style. So I guess I wanted to know what kind of leadership approach do you take?
Yeah, I feel like I say this a lot, but really just reminding ourselves of our humanity. We're all people with, maybe not the same interests, but a lot of similarities. Like, a laugh will always ease the tension in a group of people. Like, people don't necessarily want to sit in uncomfortable silences like that. These are things that kind of apply universally. When somebody gets bad news, like you want to address it head on, like these kind of things. So really drilling down into understanding that treat others how they want to be treated, treat others how you want to be treated, and bringing that humanity to the table. And I think I get a lot of those reviews saying that because a lot of my sprint meetings are using those terms and talking about that. And every 2 weeks when we do a retrospective meeting in Scrum, I'm bringing it back down to that, like, okay, this was a really hard 2 weeks. Like, we experienced this and this. Like, let's open the floor to talk about these things. And oftentimes on new teams, when there's a lot to work out, I focus on the stuff that's bothering people, until we can get to a resolution of it.
Cool. And I guess, would you say that approach also kind of leads into how you foster collaboration within the team?
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. There's a term, it's called servant leadership, which is kind of the role that I tend to play. So I'm trying to help people out all the time and clear their blockers out of their way, or make sure that they feel heard in a meeting, or addressing the dependency that they're concerned about, or whatever it is. And so that I think building on that creates a space where people are doing that across the team, not only to help me out on things that I'm working on to make the team go forward, but work with each other in the same way.
Cool. I know that looking at your LinkedIn, it shows that you also partake in volunteering, so you give back, and that you've done the PDX Women in Tech, and previous to that as well, you did Big Sister Mentoring. Could you kind of talk through a bit about what that was?
Yeah, yeah, of course. And volunteering, I feel like I get so much out of volunteering that it's fair, it's mutually beneficial. And is another great way, like, as far as breaking into a new industry, and just being willing to, give your time to learn, is a great way, to learn, obviously, but but basically, to give your time. So the couple ones that you mentioned, so Portland Women in Tech, PDX WIT, is a nonprofit that's focused on getting underrepresented groups into technology. There's like Slack channels that can foster community for people to understand, create those relationships, maybe get some referrals, learn the lingo, explore what they might be interested by hearing other people's experiences. And then Big Brothers Big Sisters, mentorship is, mentorship, there's so much to be said for that, but basically that is where you volunteer your time to somebody younger than you, usually a kid, that basically you just like act like their friend or family, and take them on adventures and show them things that they might not be able to see otherwise. Like some of the adventures, where they're silly, really, but like, I had a teenage girl was my little sister, and so we went to the mall and we just like walked around and kind of like was a teenager again. But you get to share some of those like life lessons that you've already learned about, like when they're talking about their friends or relationships. And it's a little bit different, obviously, than professional mentoring, but I think mentoring is just so beneficial to both parties because we're all always learning. I'll just keep sticking with that.
Definitely. And how has that helped with your personal growth, like volunteering?
Yeah, the Portland Women in Tech one is really exciting because I'm an aspiring writer, and so I've been getting to publish on the blog, and it's already led me to some really amazing opportunities like this, and so I'm really excited about that. And they both like are one of those things that kind of feed my soul. Where I was kind of speaking to before, you can't always get it in your everyday job. And so
Mm.
if you're finding other outlets for you to express yourself and lift yourself up, I feel like that gives you an opportunity to bring a better self to the table at work.
Cool. I think that that's pretty much like the questions that I had. Do you have kind of any final words or anything else that you want to add that I've left out that
Mm.
you think might help the viewers?
Yeah, I mean, I will just kind of reiterate the self-exploration piece. It might not be technology that it is for you, but whatever next move you want to make, there's so many opportunities for research and reaching out to people. You would be really surprised by how many people just want to engage with you. And something like this, where you're just asking me about my own personal experiences, it's easy, I'm just sharing about me. I didn't really have to prepare anything, although I appreciated the questions. And I feel like people are in a similar position where if you wanted to just ask them like about their own experience and say, I think I could really learn from you, that people are really, really willing to do that.
Mm. Great. Thank you so much. That's been really inspiring. I'm sure that whoever's listening or watches will be able to pick up something that they can use to onboard on their career journey. So thank you so much.
I hope so. I'm just so grateful. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.